Hi, everyone. This is Miranda with the Valuable Voices podcast. I have my friend Sue Donaldson here. I actually met her in a podcast group, and I'm super excited, Sue, to have you. Thanks for joining from California today.
Oh, thank you, Miranda. And I hear that you have better weather than we do today, so that's always a
It's
little
beautiful
fun.
in Chicago. I'm loving this summer weather. We're so ready for it. So it
I
is
could I
sunny
could
and
just hear your accent just then when you said Chicago.
oh, funny. Yes, yes. Lived here pretty much all my life except college. So thank you so much for being on here. I love what you're doing. I know you're a speaker, author, podcaster, all kinds of fun stuff. At the age of, well, maybe I shouldn't say it because you probably,
69 is
I'm
fine.
like, you do not look 69. So when you said that, I was pretty shocked. And you're amazing at this, what you're doing and living your purpose, it sounds like. So just kind of share whatever again, your story and like, how did you get into this, right? Because not everybody's figured out their purpose or made for this. So you have this desire and passion about so many things, and you're speaking on so many things. So how did you kind of get into that?
Well, thanks, first of all, for inviting me and taking a chance on someone you don't know. I do love my life. It doesn't mean that there's no struggles or anything like that, but praise God. When I was 15, I was raised in a Christian home, but when I was 15, my girlfriend and I were going to go on this youth mission trip, and we had to meet with the deacons, and because they were going to support us financially. And I was nervous. I was kind of a shy kid. I got a C in speech actually in college. So that's
Really?
yeah, kind of funny. I think it's because I didn't do my homework. I was probably flirting with some boy. But anyway, I thought I had heard the expression life verse, and of course now I probably won't be able to remember it. But I just sort of prayed, opened my Bible, and came to 2 Corinthians 15:5, that he died for all, that those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for him who died and rose again on their behalf. And I thought, okay, that's logical.
Wow.
God gave me salvation through Christ alone. He died for me, therefore I live for him. And I am not a logical person. I was an English major, thoroughly enjoyed it. Math was just an annoyance. Thankfully, my husband can figure that part out. But I just thought logically, if God gave all, I give all back. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does
So
now. Not at
pardon me?
15. It does now. It didn't at 15.
Well, I remember walking with my mom one night, and I said, "Mama, I don't mind being a missionary, except I'm afraid of snakes." And she was probably thinking, now that I'm a mother, she's probably thinking, "Oh, Lord, don't take her away to a foreign country," And I did meet snakes 3 times. Once I was on a mission trip in central Mexico. I was sitting with the other trainees on the ground in the grass, waiting for a little plane to pick us up. And all of a sudden, my knees were up. All of a sudden, I felt this movement under my knees, and I thought, oh, I think that was a snake. And thankfully, it kept going. And then when I lived in Brazil, I saw a really, really big anaconda, but it was in a zoo, so I was safe.
Yeah.
And then when I was in Papua New Guinea, I was talking to a good friend of mine, Ruthie. She was a translator there, and we were inside of her cabin or whatever, house, whatever they called it. And all of a sudden she goes, "Sue, come here." And we saw a snake right outside. They only had screens for windows because it's so hot. And I go, "Well, we'll just stay inside." So those were my 3 experiences, because the main thing is that God will be with you.
Yeah.
And if snakes are the scariest thing I ever have in my life, then I have a really great life. But there's a lot harder things than nature. And so I guess that's when it began. And then I went to college, and I really just wanted to major in being a pastor's wife. I thought I would be good at it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I thought that I didn't play the piano, but no pastor asked me. They didn't have that major, and no pastor that I actually liked asked me. And so I thought, well, how else can I serve God full time? In that generation, we talked about full time, part time, whatever.
Sure.
Since then, when I was getting my master's degree at Azusa Pacific, and this wonderful professor said, and this is really the best thing I got out of getting my master's degree, because I don't remember what it's in, but you lose a quarter of your brain with each child, and I have 3 kids. So I'm running on 25%, but I know some people who are listening may be in arrears. So I get that. Take a nap.
Yeah.
But he said this: spirituality is not a slice of the pie, it's the whole pie. So even Miranda, earlier before we started recording, we were talking about purpose in life. Our purpose is our whole life when we're surrendered to God wholly. And so I don't need to say, oh, now I'm going to go work at a local thrift shop, which I did for 5 years to help put my kids through private college.
Okay.
That was not non-spiritual.
Sure.
That was my next step.
Right.
So anything we're doing with God because we're his children, that is the whole pie. So I remember when I finally got married, which is a whole nother valuable voices thing, because people say, well, how did you meet your husband? I go, we really need more than just coffee and dessert. We need a whole 7-course meal to get through that.
Oh, wow. I want to hear.
Well, I didn't get married till I was 35. And I remember spending time with a close girlfriend. She was in my wedding shortly after. And she goes, Sue, I just feel kind of sad about you getting married. And I go, why? And she said, well, because you always wanted to be a missionary. And I said, oh, no. I said, actually, I'm going to see this friend next week. She's coming into town. But I said, oh, no. I said, I just want to be God's. You don't need to go somewhere to serve God better. You just need to serve God better. It's not where we are, Miranda. It's not that we have 2 kids or no kids, or we're struggling with infertility, or no one's asked me to speak for a month, or something like that. That if we're disappointed, yes, I get disappointed. I get hurt. My kids hurt me. My husband can disappoint me. I disappoint myself. Yeah. I get mad at my pastor, whatever is going on, well, right. We're friends, so you can get mad at your friends, right? And he's on my podcast. I would love to direct you to that one. His name is Tim Thule, and it's my podcast is called Make It Count, Living a Legacy Life, which has everything to do with living for the Lord, because we are building into our legacy now, not after we die. Of course, I lost my train of thought. So the fact is, I told my friend, don't worry, because I live in a small college town, San Luis Obispo, and it's kind of highfalutin. I mean, there's a lot of professionals here. You have to make, all the people who graduate, they want to stay here because of the weather. So they just become, they go work in a restaurant, and it makes sense, your quality of life. But people here need Jesus. That's my point.
Right.
It's not going somewhere else to serve God, or I have to go get a seminary degree. I speak a lot on hospitality. Yeah. And I like to start off by saying, you don't need to go get a seminary degree or teach a Bible study or develop one or become super spiritual to follow the Great Commission.
Right. Right.
You just need to invite somebody into your life. Yeah. And that is really hard for a lot of men and women. Often, I give 17 reasons when I speak on it why we don't do it.
Wow.
And the reason I could think of those is because I've thought of them all myself. And if I thought about them all in one day, I would never invite anybody over.
Right, for sure.
But one reason is because we weren't raised that way. So if you were not raised in what you would consider a hospitable home, for whatever reason. I have a friend who's told me for years, she goes, I could never have any of my friends over because my mother was bipolar, and back in the day, she's older than I am, we didn't know what to do with that.
Sure.
So I didn't know how to invite. But let me tell you, if you want Sharon to help you right now, she'll bring you a meal, Yeah. But that was something that stopped her. And I understand, God understands those wounds, and he helps us get over those things. But so I like to speak on hospitality a lot because I was single for so long. I would move on occasion. Okay. And I would be lonely. So I had to go out and get friends.
Sure.
So I remember this day I was standing in the church parking lot. I was teaching high school at the time. And it was after church, and all these people were getting in there. That's when the minivan was new, getting all their kids into their car seats, and off they would go. And I thought, well, gosh, no one invited me home for Sunday lunch. Don't they like me? I think they like me. Sorry, that was my dog. And I don't know if you can see her. No, you can't.
I saw her walking around. Cute.
Yeah, okay. She's very friendly and annoying. which is what probably my kids say about me. But I was thinking, gosh, they didn't invite me home for lunch. And if my mother were here, and she weren't my mother, and she saw I was standing in the parking lot, she would have invited me home for lunch, because that's the way I was raised.
Okay.
So rather than, you can feel sorry for yourself for just so long, and then God says, here's some food and water and take a nap. That's what he said to, I think, Elijah. So, there's practical things when we're depressed. That's a whole nother teaching.
Yeah.
But the next right thing for me to do was to invite people to my house. So I did it on a Saturday brunch, because brunch is cheap. And, you just do something with eggs, or you can even buy muffins.
Right.
And so I invited maybe 6 women over, and they were like delighted to get away from their families for a Saturday morning.
Right?
And I didn't know them very well, but they became my friends. I did it a few times. And, and I was working full time, so I couldn't do it at night very easily.
Yeah.
And so just from that, by 4 years later, I left to go to the mission field. I went to Brazil for a couple of years. And by that time, I had at least 6 women who would drop anything and take me to lunch and pay for it, which was nice. Because they loved me and they poured into me. They mentored me, some officially, some just because they would give me good advice, usually boy advice. Yeah. And I see that as me going out to get friends, but I had to make the first step.
Right.
So that was hospitality at a very low level. Holly, stop. At a very small level. Yeah, she's saying it's my turn. She must see a ball somewhere. Anyway, so that's how it started, but it actually started with my mom. And so when I speak out on Alpha Talk about how she was not raised with hospitality, but she started practicing it for the sake of all of us and for her own sake.
Oh, that's very cool. That's interesting. So I have to tell you, I feel like my whole life I've been the planner, the inviter. Like, hey, you want to go to lunch? Hey, you want to go for a walk? Hey, let's grab coffee. And I honestly got tired of it. I got tired. So the past, and maybe COVID had something to do with, maybe not, but the past and the season I'm in life, just the past 6 months or so, I'm just like, you know what? I'm done inviting, and I kind of find out who my true friends are, right? Because you find out who reaches out to you. And I know everyone goes through seasons. I'm not reprimanding or saying that about anybody, but I got tired. I felt like I was always reaching out and giving. So I'm curious if you have anything to say about that.
Well, I think COVID does have something to do with it.
Yeah.
But also it could be the Lord just having you step back a little bit yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it's great to be the initiator. I'm known for it. I get annoyed when people say, well, that's just what you do, Sue. Mm-hmm. When the Bible says be hospitable and without grumbling. And I said, well, I can be hospitable, but I have a lot to say about that.
Right.
Because I heard Jill Briscoe years ago, and she said, hospitality is work, a lot of work, but somebody's got to do it. Yeah. And I thought, wow, I've never forgotten that line either. I don't remember anything else she said. I'm so sorry about my dog.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay. I never edit she's startling me, edit my podcast. Here, let me get whatever she needs. Hold on. Holly, you go outside. You're not allowed to, but go.
Well, you are just super cute. I love your humor. I love your style. I'm just super excited to be connected to you and hear more.
Thank you. Tell me when to shut up.
No, you're good. I love it. But again, you're an author, so tell us quick about your books. And I know you like to speak, so anybody listening, especially churches, women's retreats, look her up. I would love to meet you in person. I know you have family out here, so it'd be great if you came to visit.
Yes, I would adore it. And my sister is great too. She loves gardening, so she wrote a talk called The Master Gardener Using Miracle Grow the Holy Spirit, which is so cute. I think that's her one talk because she'd rather garden than do that. But awesome. Yeah, she's pretty awesome. I wrote the book about hospitality, but this is why. Years ago, someone said, we want you to speak at our women's retreat, and we don't care what the topic is, but include a talk on hospitality. I go, okay. But I said, okay, so I called it The Welcoming Heart of God, because Miranda, the only reason we really invite is because God invited us first. And so the first 3 talks were on God's hospitality.
Mm,
And so, and how he's welcomed us to the table.
yeah.
And we can RSVP yes or no.
Oh, wow.
And on a daily basis, I can RSVP. Yes, I was just talking to a dear friend yesterday, and she goes, Sue, I just need prayer to spend time with the Lord. I put my exercise first and everything else first. And she's a great caring person.
Yeah.
And so this morning I snapped a picture of my devotional. I said, this is for you. And she said, I just read it. So yay, you know, but see, she runs every morning at 5. And I was telling her I need prayer because I'd rather eat donuts. So we do need each other. So I wrote this book based on that 4-part retreat series years ago, and took a while to get it finished, but it's really fun. It's full of stories of hospitality and how God uses our simple hospitality. I am not an entertainer. I'm a host, a very simple host.
Yeah.
And I'm a very imperfect host, and sometimes I embarrass myself. But I have found by being ourselves, I'm sure you know this too at your age, we are inviting people to be themselves.
Exactly.
And lately I've been, this is so funny. I was raised with no alcohol in the home. I don't know how you feel about that, and so that has changed, but my parents are in heaven. And so one time I told my sister, and I will tease, well, don't tell mom, you know, and she'll say, oh, she's in heaven drinking the real stuff. Okay, now your audience has completely stopped listening. But I have started having these wine nights with women in the backyard because of COVID, because we're in California, we can entertain outside, but I invite women who don't know Jesus alongside women who do. And I find, and then I ask them questions, a question that is really easy to answer, like where's your favorite vacation spot? Last month it was, where would you like to go on a road trip, and who would you ask to go with you? And the first gal said, oh, I would go up the Central Coast, the West Coast, and take Taylor Swift. And I said, well, then you wouldn't have to turn on your radio, you know. But then the second question is always a little deeper, Miranda, and that's why we do hospitality, to get people to feel like they have a safe place to share their real heart. And it's just really a launching pad to deeper relationship and connecting people with each other. So my second question was, what brave thing have you done this past year? Ooh. Whoa, we got such great answers. And the people want to come back. And I don't even know these people. I pick them up on the street. I mean, I meet them at work. And I'll say, oh, yeah, I met her when I worked at the thrift store. She was one of my favorite customers. And then that friend brought a friend. I mean, literally, this was last month. And because I hadn't had one for 8 months, women were coming out of the, so I had 2 nights in a row, 11 women each night outside.
How fun.
It was fun. And you can just serve dessert, tea, whatever. So I wrote a book last year called 252 Conversation Starters. And so they are in categories, like if you have your friends, your kids' friends over, what questions can you ask? So that they go a little deeper than what is your favorite video game to, you know, what's the best thing about your grandpa, or something like that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's so I feel conversation really is I mean, God is all about words. Yeah. He gave us his word. He communicated with us for years. He wants me to shut up at times and just listen to him, but it is all about words. Right. Not to show off, but someone told me yesterday, I was interviewing her for my podcast. She goes, Sue, I don't want to be the kind of host that people come in and I say, here I am. Rather, they come in and I say, there you are. And I thought, wow, that is so beautifully said. That is, wow. I have 4 or 5 books, I can't remember. And also mentoring is one of my favorite topics. I think at any age we can mentor. You're probably in your, 40s or something?
40. 40.
Yeah, there we go. And, but there's always someone younger spiritually that we can bring alongside. And so I wrote a book on that just because the Lord gives me such joy in doing it. Oh, very cool. Well, thank you for sharing. I love that. Again, I just love getting to know new people and hearing your story. So I know I'm going to post some free resources. So check her website out for sure. And again, just thank you for being here. I love hearing your story. I love seeing what you're doing. Seems like you got a lot of life ahead of you, and it gives me inspiration and hope. So thank you. Oh yeah, honey, you're not even halfway here. Hey, let me say something about those resources just to explain them.
Yes, please.
One is a printable. It's a prayer for a hospitable heart, because some of you listening may think, well, that's just not my thing.
Yeah, yeah,
But you're willing to let it be your thing by praying for it. Plus
yeah.
a great recipe. And I got from a mystery. I like mysteries. And when they have recipes in the back, I really like the mysteries. But anyway, and then the other one is a resource I sell, but it's free for your listeners. And it's 10 mentoring worksheets. So if you're thinking, boy, I'd really like to know what to do when I get together with my mentor, it even has that. Or how do I go about there's things I give when you buy the book, but I'm just going to let your listeners take a look at those. So
well, thank you so much. You guys check those out. Again, obviously, I love what you're doing, and I hope people connect. I hope you get some speaking, and I hope you come to Chicago soon, because it'd be great.
I would love to. Any time of the year. Thank you so much.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Well, let's stay connected. And you guys, just thanks for listening. Again, if you know anybody that has a valuable voice, which I believe everybody does, because everybody has a story and everybody will be inspired by your story, truly. You are just an inspiration. And again, I know we'll stay connected. So thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much.
Have a blessed day.